How's it going, everyone? It's Caleb Lumity here, and today we're going to be talking about a game for the PC, and I believe that this game originally came out on the Super Nintendo. This game is Super 3D Noah's Ark. It is a biblical first-person shooter, which I think this may be the first biblical first-person shooter I've ever played. And actually, I'm not going to be biased or anything like that. I know that there are Christian games that are pretty terrible, and I'm a Christian myself, but I'm not going to let that get in the way of, my video game reviews or anything like that, of course. I gotta say, this game, even though it's, biblical and everything like that, it's actually not a bad video game. It's not the greatest boomer shooter ever, don't get me wrong, but for what it is, it's not bad. And I think that this game is mainly going to be for fans of boomer shooters who just happen to be Christian. I think that's mainly who this game is going to be for. And honestly, it does what it does pretty well. It's a fun little game. You play as Noah, and you're basically trying to get all the animals on the ark to fall asleep by using feed. So instead of your regular gun, you're running around with a slingshot and a bunch of feed, and you have to try to knock out all the animals. Now, there is a ton of different weapons. It sounds weird to call them weapons, but there's a ton of different weapons that you can find on the Ark as well. Just different types of feeders and stuff like that. Like, you start off with a regular slingshot, then you find this, super fast, fully automatic one. You can find a watermelon launcher and coconut launchers at certain points of the game. And overall, the level design is pretty good early on. Later on, it gets a little bit too labyrinthy for my taste. But it's still not bad. I just personally would have rather it stayed a little bit more wide open instead of being so labyrinthy, because I don't really like going into a gigantic maze and trying to figure out my way out of there, especially because this game requires you to find gold keys and silver keys, and you have to try to traverse your way back to where the locked doors are. And trying to traverse your way over and over again through mazes can be a little bit irritating. But that's mainly in the last 2 chapters of the game. This game has 6 chapters overall, and the first 4 chapters I think actually play really well and are pretty well designed. Now, I have seen some complaints about this game not looking the greatest in terms of its setting, just because, it's the same kind of look over and over again on the Ark. And I mean, I don't really know what they could have done to fix that, because at the end of the day, they're trying to make this game about Noah being on the Ark, so what can you do, really? You're pretty limited with what you can do there, so even though, yeah, I can see how it's repetitive, I feel like they kind of had to for what they were going for, so, it is what it is. It honestly didn't really bother me too much, so, I don't know, it may bother you a little bit. I can only speak for myself, and it didn't really bother me seeing the Ark and the different layers of the Ark over and over again. They did try different things to try and make the different levels of the Ark feel different. Just small things like different posters in certain areas, different, cloths hung up in veils and stuff in certain areas. They tried their best, I feel like, to try to make each layer of the Ark a little bit different, but it's really hard to do whenever you're doing something like this. But still, overall, I still think that the level design wasn't too bad. And the gameplay is actually really fun. That's one of the best things about this game, is the game is actually super fun. The only thing I'm not a huge fan of when I'm running around doing the boomer shooting in this game is the fact that you can't see your feed on some of the guns. Actually, I think pretty much all of the regular guns that take just regular feed, you can't see the actual feed going out of the gun. So it's kind of hard to tell if you're hitting or not. With the melons and the coconuts, they explode on impact, and you can watch them leave, your catapults. So it's a lot easier to tell if you're hitting or not. But with just the regular feeders, it's really hard to tell. So that's probably one of my biggest complaints about the game. But overall, I still don't think that's a huge deal. It's still plenty playable. And this game actually is a pretty decent length as well. It took me about 6 hours to beat the game, and I did get stuck a few times because this game is actually pretty difficult. I played it on easy mode. There's very easy mode, normal mode, and hard mode. I think that's all of the modes there are. And easy mode is still pretty difficult, honestly. I got stuck in some areas. One thing I highly recommend you do in this game is save often. Keep one save at the beginning of the level, and then as you're going through the level, make sure you save often, because it is so easy to get absolutely destroyed in this game. And you do not want to go back to the start of the level, because if you have all of your weapons with you, and then you die and you get sent back to the start of the level, you lose all your weapons. And I don't know if I'd be able to play through this game and get to the end of the game. I don't know if I would have been able to do it without all of the weapons, because I tried and I was getting destroyed every time. Like, you almost need the other weapons other than just the regular slingshot to get through some of these levels, because they get tough later on and they send a lot of animals after you. And if you want to knock out all the animals, you're going to need more than just your regular slingshot. So, save often. Save at the beginning of the level. That way, if you die, you can reload from the beginning of the level with all the slingshots and all the catapults and everything, and you don't have to worry about losing them and not being able to get past a level. So, save often. That is my recommendation. Always keep a save at the beginning of the level. Have a secondary save for when you're just roaming around in the level itself. The game itself also has a lot of secret areas, which I love in boomer shooters. I love it when there's secret areas. And the early levels do a really good job of kind of like giving you hints of where they're at, because like you'll see a random wall that has moss on it and you'll go up to it and you'll be like, hey, what's this? And you'll click on it and it will just like start moving, and there'll be a room full of health and a room full of just, a feed for your ammunition and everything like that. So I do like the secret areas. And one thing I actually like is that some of the secret areas have secret areas within them. So it's a secret area within another secret area, and there was one I went through that literally had like 3 secret areas in one. I thought that was awesome. I actually like that, because it's just like, oh, here's a secret area, and then you happen to see another wall that looks a little bit off, and you're just like, wow, what's this? Click on it, and then another secret area opens up. It's actually really cool. I thought that was a really cool idea, and I'm glad that they did that. That was a really interesting thing that I haven't really seen a whole lot of other boomer shooters. And I really like the sprites in this game, too. The sprites look really good, actually. It's kind of surprising. So that was another just positive of this game. This game actually has a lot going for it. I think the biggest boundary for a lot of people is the fact that it's going to be a biblical game, so it's not going to really appeal to anyone other than Christians. And there's probably not a lot of Christians that it's going to appeal to either, because I'm sure a lot of them don't want to play a video game like this. But I still think that if you're a Christian and you enjoy boomer shooters, hey, give this a shot. It's actually not too bad. It's an interesting take on it, and I think it's worth playing through just for the novelty, if nothing else. It's kind of interesting. Along the way, you also do, like, to get health, you can find the regular band-aids and stuff, but there are like Bible questions that you can find that ask you questions about, Noah and the flood and everything like that. And if you get them right, then you get like some of your health back and stuff like that. So I thought that was kind of neat too. So they do try to mix in some, Bible trivia in it and stuff like that, and it's not a bad way to do it. It doesn't feel tacked on or anything. It feels actually pretty well designed, and overall, you can tell a lot of love and effort went into this game, and I think that's one of the most important things. This game definitely had some care in it. People who made this really cared about it, and you can tell that they wanted to make a fun Bible game. I feel like a lot of Bible games, they they end up being more of a biblical lesson first and the game last. This was definitely made to be a video game first, and it just happens to be a fun Bible video game. It just happens to have the Bible in it. So I think that's a good way to design a game like this, because you made sure it was fun, and it just so happens to be in a Christian setting. So kudos to the creators of this game. I think they did a pretty good job making this game. Now, I will say, this game is also not super expensive. It's only $8, so not too bad. This game took me about 6 hours to get through, so for $8, I'd say that's worth it, honestly. That's a pretty good time, and honestly, you're definitely going to get your money's worth. And there's definitely replayability here, because there's different, pars for each level, so, if you can beat the par for the time to get through the level, that's something you can try to do. There's achievements for that, so if you can get through the level as quick as possible and beat the par, you can, on every single level you can get achievement. There's, you want to try to get the highest completion and the highest percentage of animals knocked out on each level. You want to try to find every secret on every level, so it has a lot of replay value, actually, so that's always a good thing too. So this game is actually pretty good for the value. It's pretty good for the price. It's a good value. $8, I say it's worth it. Now, I will say, this game is a lot more expensive on the Super Nintendo. You're talking near $100 for a lot of the copies of this game that I've seen. So, definitely I recommend it on PC. This game is not worth $100, okay? This game is fun for $8. When you're spending more than that on it, yeah, that's probably too much. This game isn't that good. Okay, this game is just fun. It's just a fun game, and I think for $8 it's worth it. It's not a masterpiece or anything like that. It is probably the best Christian video game I've played. The bar's kind of low, though, so I will say, you know, maybe that's not a big deal. But it is not a bad game. Even in terms of boomer shooters, it's actually not a bad boomer shooter, and it's still a lot of fun. So I think for $8 is definitely worth it. But yeah, I do not... Spending $100 for the Super Nintendo version, that might be a little bit crazy. But yeah, I do like the $8 price tag on the PC version. So there we go. Thank you guys for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe button down below, and check out Super 3D Noah's Ark if you're a Christian and you love boomer shooters. I'll talk to you in the next video. You have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.